All right, everybody, this is your minted Super 3D pen tutorial. So some of you guys will have a box that has never been opened. And so when you open your box, it's going to look like this. You'll see all the little plastic wrappers and holders and stuff that everything comes in. Go ahead and take everything out of your box. And then when you have everything out, this is what you should have. So across the top, from the top down, that's PLA filament. The filament actually for 3D pens comes in two different varieties. There is something called ABS, I think, filament, and then PLA. The PLA filament is a little bit lower temperature, so it melts at a lower temperature. It's a little bit easier to work with, and it doesn't give off a really bad odor. The other filament does, and so that's why I chose the PLA. Then, of course, you have the 3D pen, you have an AC adapter, you have a little small baggie with some really small tools. Don't open that baggie. I'm going to explain what that's for in a second. And then you've got a USB power cable that should have some white ties on it. And then, of course, your manual. The plastic baggie is full of some small tools so that you can use their 3D pen for both types of filament. And the way that you would do that is you would pop open this little screw cover, and then use this to change the setting. What I would like to tell you is that everything has been already changed for you. You do not need to change this temperature setting. If you have your pen is too hot, and you use the type of filament, the PLA filament that we have, you're going to get a runny mess, and you could actually ruin the pen. So please, I'm telling you what it's for because some of you guys are very curious and you would stick your fingernail in there and try and move stuff around. Please don't do it. Leave it alone. If your box still contains the tools, I would like you to bring them to me tomorrow, and then I'm keeping them in a place so that if we ever do need to change the temperature setting, then I've got those. All right, if your boxes have already been opened, this is what they're going to look like. They've got all the plastic wrapping out, and the only things that you actually need to have are your 3D pen, the power cable, the AC adapter, the wall plugger thing, and then your manual. All right, so let's start with this. I want you to take the white wire that is attached to the cable and take it off, but don't lose that wire because you're going to use it later on when you wrap your wire back up or wrap your cable back up. You're going to use that wire to keep it secure. So don't lose it. Put it back in the box so that you know where it's at, and then let's get ready to go. Okay, so this is just a diagram of your pen. If you look, I'm going to start on the top. So the nozzle is replaceable. If something happens to it and it cracks and it breaks over time, I can replace it. They're kind of expensive, so please be very careful with it. On the front, I'm going to go down to the bottom, okay? So the front two buttons that you see, they're two arrows, and I'm going to be referring to those as the front load button and the reverse load button. I'm also going to be referring to them as the arrow on the right, the arrow button on the right, and the arrow button on the left. Okay, one is forward, one is reverse. The plug-in power bank is on the back of the pen, and it is also where you put in the filament. So you'll see two holes on the back of the pen. The temperature adjustment, I showed you where that was. And then on the other side of the pen, you can't see it very well, but I've got a video I'm going to show you. That is called an infinite speed control. Let me go ahead and show you the video. All right, so this is the infinite. Oh, I'm showing you the top. These two buttons here will light up green and red, so you know when it's ready to go. There are the forward and reverse buttons. You can see that they've got arrows on them for the forward and reverse. And then on the back, this is it adjusts the speed at which the filament comes out. And if you bring it forward, it goes faster. If you bring it backwards, it goes a little bit slower. You may have to adjust that. And so it's important that you know where that is. And I can help you with that if you need to. Okay, so whoops, let's get down to it. First thing you're going to want to do is take your 3D pen. You're going to connect the USB cable to the pen. Again, there is another opening. That's where the filament goes. It's a little bit smaller than the US cable opening. So if you're trying to make it fit and it's not fitting, that's why. So make sure that you put it in the USB cable. Okay. Then you're going to go ahead and plug it into the AC adapter and then go ahead and put the AC adapter into the wall. Now you will be sharing, or you may be sharing, an outlet with another person. So make sure that you both have room to work. You're going to want to clear off the counter. Make sure you both have some room, okay? This little light right here is going to turn on as soon as you plug in the 3D pen. It is a red light. It just indicates that you're getting electricity to the pen. You have not actually turned it on yet. At this point in time, after you plug it in, or probably even before, you should pick the color filament that you want to start with. Only use one filament at a time. Only take one filament to your station at a time, so somebody else could be using a color that you might want to be using. I don't want you to hoard the filaments and say, I'm going to use all of these colors and then nobody can use them. So just pick one that you want. Go ahead and take the plastic white wires that are connecting those and making them nice. Keep those because you're going to want to use those to wrap them back up again. All right. So once you've got your filament at your station and your pen has been plugged in, you are ready to turn it on. You are going to push the forward load button. That is the left, see where my thumb is? It's the left arrow button. Push that twice. You don't have to hold it in. Just go ahead and click, click, push it twice. And then you're going to see a green light start flashing. It takes about a minute for the pen to warm up and be ready to go. When the pen is warm and ready to go, that green light will no longer flash. It'll just stay a solid green color. Please remember, at this point in time, as soon as you turn that pen on with the 2 clicks, it's going to heat up like a glue gun. It will burn you. So please be careful with it. Don't touch it. Don't try and pull the filament out of it while it's still hot. Be very careful. Be cautious. All right. When you're ready and that green light is on, you're going to want to go ahead and put your filament in. You want to make sure that the end of the filament is flat. See the manual? You've got a correct and an incorrect. If you get filament that somebody else has used, it may be kind of melted at the end and kind of point. You cannot use it like that. It's going to clog your pen. So get a piece of, get some scissors and cut it. Or if you need me to, I've got X-Acto knives and I can cut it to make sure that it's straight. So when you put it in, it won't clog the 3D pen. Okay, so go ahead and push the filament in. Sorry, I hope you guys don't see all these texts I'm getting. Push the filament in the pen all the way. So you are manually using your hand to push the filament in until it stops. So think of it like this. You know, in a glue gun, how you have to load the glue gun with the glue until it stops, and then you can press the trigger and it kind of pushes it through. It's the same thing here. It goes in almost all the way down. So you got to push it in until you cannot push it in anymore. And then you're going to go ahead and push the front load button. Okay, that's the left arrow button. You're going to hear the motor start to run. If the motor sounds slow and sluggish and the filament is not coming out, that means that you're going to need to speed up your motor. And I'll explain how you do that in a second. But if everything's working fine, you have to keep pushing on that button. You should see filament coming out of the tip of the pen within a few seconds. Okay, if it's been like 10 seconds and you haven't seen anything, then you might have some problems. Maybe your filament isn't pushed all the way in. And if your motor is running too slow or too fast, then you're going to want to turn your pen over to the other side, and you may need to increase the speed. So you're going to do that by sliding the infinite control button forward That makes it go a little bit faster. If it's too fast, then slide that back a little bit. You're just going to have to play around with it a little bit to see the right speed for you. Okay? All right. You are ready to go ahead and start tracing your mask. Now, this might take a little bit of practice to run straight lines. This was my very first time practicing, and you can see that you can't really stop and start. You get these little globs. You're going to be watching a video after this one to show you how to specifically make the mask. Pay attention to the techniques that are discussed in that video. You're going to trace the outside of your mask like 3 or 4 times. It's going to be a pretty thick tracing. So see how mine looks kind of globby right there. I it will end up being okay because I would just go over it multiple times. You're just going to trace around it. So it gives you a chance to kind of practice and try and go a little bit straight. All right, when you are finished with that color, you want to change it out, you want to get a different color. Or if you're totally finished altogether with the mask and you're ready to be done. Anytime you want to take the filament out, you have to push the reverse load button. So that's the right arrow. And this is going to bring the filament out of the pen. The motor works and it's actually grabbing the filament and it's reversing it. It's slow, you guys. It takes a long time for it to come out. Do not pull on the filament. You're going to burn up the motor and then the pen is ruined. And they're too expensive for that. So just be patient, let it come out. And then you can either replace the color or then go ahead and start to put it away. Okay, when you are finished completely, you're going to disconnect the power cord from the pen. Remember that pen is still hot when it's unplugged, just like a glue gun. So be careful. You can go ahead and leave the pen on the counter while you put away the other equipment. It's not going to burn my countertops. And that way it keeps you safe and you won't burn your fingers. Go ahead, please, and wrap the USB cord around your hand so it's in a nice little circle. And then grab that white wire that you have in your box that you saved and secure it. You're going to want to wrap the unused filament neatly and then give it back to me. I'm going to put it back in a box with some scraps, and then that way everybody can use the colors up. So you've got these 3 things that are ready to go back in the box. Now, when your pen is cooled, and it doesn't take that long for it to cool, by the time you get all the other equipment picked up and put away in your box, your pen should be cool. Check to see if you have any hardened filament on the tip. Be very careful when you do this. I don't want you to pop the tip of it off. If you do have a little bit of filament that's cooled, see how mine's kind of curled like that? I just used the end of my fingernail to just kind of flick it off. If it comes off easily, great. If it doesn't come off, leave it alone. The next person that uses it will heat up the pen, and that filament, they may have that a little bit of that filament color come out at first, which is totally fine. So don't pull on it and risk breaking the tip. So you're going to replace all the equipment back in the box. Again, let's just do an inventory. You should have the pen, the USB cord, the AC adapter plug, and your manual. If you have any questions while you're using the pen, obviously take a look at your manual. You can also come up and ask me some questions. Now, when you have everything in there, if your box was new and you had all those plastic wrappers, make sure you throw those away. You don't have to replace any of the pens or try to put things back where you found them before. Just throw all that stuff away and put your pen, the cord, and the plug and the manual back in the box just like this. Do not close the lid. I want you to bring the box back to me, and I'm going to check it to make sure that you have all of your equipment, and then I will shut the lid and I will put them away. Last bit of information, please. Go back to your station, make sure that it's clean, or, as you're putting your pen away, check your station, make sure that it's clean. I imagine we're going to have quite a lot of little filament strings around, and it is your job to clean that stuff up. So throw away any pieces of filament If you have any filament that's actually stuck to the counter, you can usually just pop it off pretty easily. So go ahead and do that. And don't forget to check the floor. Throw all the little pieces of filament away, and then you are finished. Okay, that's the end of this tutorial. Now go to Schoology, and there is a short quiz that I need you to take. You have to score 100% before you can move on and use your glue gun. Not your glue gun, and use your 3D pen. When you're finished with the quiz, then you can watch the tutorial on how to make the mask. All right,